You're just a useless old man. Totally out of place. Just get out of here now. At the year-end party, Hannah, the daughter of our client's president, was laughing as she pulled my chair out to the outside. This kind of harassment wasn't anything new. But no matter how many times it happened, I never got used to it. Lately, just the thought of meeting Hannah made me break out in a cold sweat and breathe heavily. You can't hold a conversation. Go call the president. What do you need my dad for? Hannah was causing a scene, loud enough for someone to have informed him. Then, Sam White, her father, and the president showed up. And when he looked at me, he started shaking. My name is John Smith. I work in product development at Brown Stationery, a stationery company, and I'm 42 years old. My job is to create new stationery products that become big hits. It's quite challenging, and I'm always looking for hints for new products in the back of my mind. To work in this elite department, one needed at least 7 years of experience in other departments and a track record of results. I owe my current position to the various ideas I've generated and the achievements I've made. Even in this digital age, the popularity of stationery has recently reignited, making it a vibrant industry. I graduated from what's considered a prestigious university, but I've always had a slight complex about it. That's because I failed my entrance exams twice before getting accepted. Although I finally made it into the university of my dreams, I felt old being 2 years older than my classmates. While the other students were 18, I was 20 and already old enough to drink. Being the only one old enough to drink, I was frequently invited out by upperclassmen, which only made me more aware of my age. I majored in economics, which is known to be one of the more challenging departments at our university, with not a few students repeating years. Determined not to fall further behind, I studied hard. Thanks to that, I consistently achieved top grades in my class. Our department was small, which made it easy to interact closely with other students. Being 2 years older, I was often relied upon to take the lead and was trusted by others. Initially, I resisted this role, but eventually, I decided to enjoy the situation. From there, life became easier, and now, no matter the difficulty, I can persevere. My 4 years at university were intensely formative in every sense. I became especially close with a student named Jack Brown. He was 2 years younger, like the rest of my classmates, but he was fearless and often struck up conversations with me. We quickly became good friends and even introduced each other as best friends. Jack was the heir to Brown Stationery, a company with a large factory in the region. Brown Stationery primarily manufactures pencils, compasses, and notebooks. According to Jack, he has never used any stationery other than Brown's since he was born. When you actually use it, it somehow feels right and seems to enhance your academic performance, which is quite mysterious. Such stationery is constantly being developed. It must be very rewarding to create products while thinking about how to make them more convenient. I greatly resonated with Jack's way of thinking. Hearing about a department dedicated to squeezing out such ideas, the product development department, I became interested in working for Brown Stationery. After all, my best friend Jack is the next president. Working together, we could lead a fulfilling professional life, constantly creating and expanding the company with innovative stationery products. We would share these dreams over drinks. And so, after graduating from university, I joined Brown Stationery. Explaining it this way, my 4 years at university might seem like they were just fun and games. However, there were certainly problems too. Among those who passed their exams directly, there was a female student named Hannah White. From the day of the entrance ceremony, Hannah started causing trouble for me. So, you took 2 years to pass the entrance exam, right? Guess you're pretty much an old man now. Indeed, the 2-year age difference felt significant back then. Even without anyone telling me, I was fully aware that I was the old man of the group. Even if it was just from a fellow student, Being called old man by a woman was tough to handle. That's why I had a strong aversion to Hannah from the start. I made sure not to sit near her, and even changed my cafeteria times to avoid seeing her. Jack, who was always with me, helped out too, so we managed to minimize our encounters more than necessary. Still, whenever I noticed, Hannah was there beside me, teasing me in some way or another. If I was the old man, she would have had more fun sticking with the younger male students. I couldn't for the life of me figure out what Hannah was thinking. Then one day, another female student from the same department revealed a shocking truth to me. Hannah might not seem straightforward, but she actually likes you, John. Are you kidding? She's always so snarky when we meet. That's just how Hannah is not straightforward. It's like a little boy teasing someone he likes, said the female student, laughing heartily, but it was no laughing matter to me. I had no interest in Hannah whatsoever. In fact, sharing the same classroom and breathing the same air was sometimes unbearable. When I talked to Jack about it, he suggested I try dating another girl. There happened to be a girl I was getting along well with, so I decided to casually date her. Soon after, Hannah called me out and asked, "John, are you dating someone?" "Yeah, Nancy just confessed to me recently, and we started dating." "What, with Nancy? What do you see in such an ugly girl? Stop seeing her and date me instead." Indeed, Nancy wasn't a beauty queen, but she was far from ugly and had a lovely smile. It made me realize again how much I disliked Hannah's behavior. I politely declined her offer. Since then, Hannah began to see me as an enemy. At university, the overt harassment and spreading of rumors were so frequent that by graduation, I felt immense relief at not having to see her anymore. However, I couldn't sever ties with Hannah even after graduating. Hannah's father was the president of White Paper Manufacturing, a major paper company, and an important business partner for Brown Stationery. Despite the growing trend towards digitalization, it's said that the demand for paper books and notebooks is declining. But fundamentally, many stationery products are still made from paper. White Paper held the largest factory in the region and handled all the paper manufacturing needs within the area. Newspapers, magazines, books, toilet paper, tissues. The list of products relying on White Paper was extensive. Although White Paper was not more powerful than Brown Stationery, it was a relationship that required careful handling due to their long association. When Jack's father, the president, found out that Jack, Hannah, and I had all attended the same university, he was thrilled. We couldn't ask for better connections. We must cherish this relationship to strengthen the bond between our two companies, he said. With that, he assigned us to sales to handle interactions with White Paper. Both Jack and I were dismayed, but naturally, this led to more frequent meetings with Hannah. Every time we visited White Paper, Hannah would somehow show up. Knowing that we were handling sales, Hannah even joined the sales department. Naturally, this meant we had to be in frequent contact. Jack wasn't targeted as much. Hannah's main target was me, as I had rejected her miserably during our university days. "Look, the useless old men are here on sales again. Jack, you are spending so much time with an old man, you're starting to become one yourself," she teased. "You got me there, but hey, we all age, and I'll try to become a good old man," Jack replied. "Jack might become a good old man, but John, you'll stay a useless old man. No matter how hard you try, there's a limit when your brain is so small," she continued. I had no choice but to listen with a forced smile. A woman's grudge is a frightening thing, holding on to the humiliation of being rejected forever. As time passed, our environment began to change as well. The wave of digitalization reached our small town. When I heard that the city library started renting digital books, I felt deeply moved that such times had finally come. By then, I was in the product development department, constantly thinking of new ideas for stationery. As physical books sold less and e-books became the norm, children effortlessly used tablets. We were challenged to think about what kind of stationery could survive in such times. As the world moved towards not needing paper, white paper faced difficult times. During these challenging periods, I frequently received calls from Hannah's father, Sam White. At first, I was reluctant to deepen my relationship with Hannah, but Sam was genuinely kind and personable. He was the kind of person you'd want to support. One day, Sam invited me to the white paper manufacturing year-end party. Considering future relations, I decided to attend with Jack. The party was held at a hotel venue within the region. However, when we arrived, there was a single chair placed outside in the hallway. Puzzled, I entered only to find that there was no chair at my designated seat. So, the chair in the hallway was meant for me. The perpetrator, as usual, was Hannah. "You're just out of place, you useless old man. Just get out of here already." No matter how often this kind of harassment happens, you never get used to it. Lately, just the thought of meeting Hannah makes me sweat profusely and breathe heavily. If I backed down without any objection, Hannah would only look down on me even more. Jack was beyond perplexed. He was angry. "Hannah, there's no need for such antics. We were invited by your father, the president, to this party. I rented this venue myself. It seemed there were people not suitable for this place, so I put a chair outside. But Jack, you are welcome to stay and enjoy the food." "Stop joking. Why do you keep harassing John like this? If you keep it up, we'll have to respond." I put a hand on Jack's shoulder and said, "Calm down, man. Of course, we're not just going to slink away as Hannah wants. It's abnormal to hold on to college grudges into this age. I don't know if her fixation on me is the cause, but like me, Hannah is still single. Continuing this hostile relationship isn't good for either of us or for Hannah. I just can't stand it anymore. I've reached my limit. It's time to put Hannah in her place." I sat in the chair placed in the hallway, crossed my legs arrogantly, and said, "You're impossible to talk to. Go call the president." What do you need from Dad?" Hannah's loud commotion drew curious looks, and soon, employees started stepping out to see what was happening. People gathered to watch as I sat in the chair, and Hannah stood glaring at me defiantly. Hannah, visibly irritated, yelled at the onlookers, "This isn't a show. Get back to the venue right now. You're the one making it a show. Cut it out with the yelling already." I retorted with uncharacteristic haughtiness. Seeing me act so imperiously, Hannah was clearly perplexed. One can only keep a pleasant demeanor for so long. I had reached my breaking point and stared her down intently. Then Sam, the president, appeared, and upon seeing my face, he began to tremble. "John, why are you out here? I invited you to enjoy yourself," he said. "Oh really? Your daughter called me a useless old man. Is that part of the entertainment? I'm terribly sorry. I'll have a stern talk with her. Please, calm your anger," he pleaded. Hannah looked utterly shocked at the exchange. She couldn't understand why her father, the president, was so deferential to me, a mere business associate. Without caring for Hannah's confusion, Sam grabbed her arm and pulled her away from me. "What have you done? If you upset John, our company could be in jeopardy." "Wait, Dad, what are you talking about? He's just an employee of a business partner." "Right, if our relationship goes sour, it's John who will be in trouble, not us." Sam, tearing at his hair, shouted, "You don't understand anything." In fact, Hannah's father owed me a great deal. Unbeknownst to Hannah, who sat comfortably on her laurels as the president's daughter, white paper was in dire straits. The only reason it was holding on was due to a new product I developed. As various items that had traditionally used paper began going paperless, white paper was on the brink of bankruptcy. Sam had reached out to me, asking if I could develop a stationery product that used a large amount of their paper. I listened and, wanting to help, came up with an innovative product. This product could transform into various shapes using only paper and serve multiple stationary functions. By offering a variety of colors and designs tailored to user preferences, the product was a hit, and white paper managed to stave off bankruptcy. In essence, I had become a benefactor to white paper. Hannah, completely unaware of these circumstances, was simply dumbfounded. Sam led Jack and me to a separate room and set down some beer in glasses. "It's to freshen up," he said, but I wasn't in the mood for alcohol and didn't touch it. Hannah followed later, trying to eavesdrop on our conversation. Sam didn't send her away. Instead, he let her sit next to him. Sam looked up at me as if probing my feelings. "By the way, John, aren't you married yet? Odd for me to say as an older man, but I think you're quite the handsome guy. Wouldn't you be popular with the ladies?" As I looked troubled, Jack grinned slyly. Jack got married before he was 30 and has 2 children. In that respect, he's ahead of me. John is quite popular, but it seems like the right woman hasn't come along yet. If you're currently single, what about my daughter, Hannah? Jack and I were speechless. Besides Sam, Hannah's expression, far from displeased, only added to the eeriness. Does she even realize what she's just done? After being ridiculed so much by her, the idea of her as a bride is incomprehensible. Maybe I'm assuming too much, but maybe the reason both you and Hannah stayed single is that you were aware of each other. If you've been alone because you couldn't forget Hannah, perhaps you should consider this opportunity. Even after all her rude behavior, that's absurd. I believe it's because Hannah's heart was set only on you, John. Perhaps you've noticed her feelings too. I felt both embarrassed and amused. The idea that I've stayed single all this time because I was pining for Hannah is laughable. After looking at Hannah, I turned decisively back to Sam and stated clearly, "Thank you for your kind words, but I'm already engaged. When I met my fiancée, she was very young, so I waited for her to grow up." "What? No, I thought you stayed single because you couldn't let go of me." "I assumed it was hard for you to say after rejecting me once." "You have a hopeful imagination. Even if you were the last woman on earth, marrying you would be out of the question." "My fiancée is in white, and we met 10 years ago. At that time, I was 32, and Anne was just 12. She was the daughter of the president of a plastic factory we dealt with, and I was struck by her beauty. I hadn't thought about marrying a 12-year-old girl then. But as she grew up beautifully, every other woman started to look plain in comparison. When Anne turned 18, I mustered the courage to propose. If you reach 22 and haven't found someone else you love, would you marry me?" "Yes, I'd be honored." Thus, I waited for Anne to grow up, and right after her college graduation, I proposed marriage to her parents. They were drawn to my character and happily agreed, and we became officially engaged. I pulled out my smartphone and showed Sam and Hannah a photo of Anne and me together. Anne, with her beautiful smile, is my fiancée, and I'm proud of her. It's unfortunate to say, but Hannah can hardly be called beautiful and has put on weight with age. She couldn't compete with Anne in any respect. Even when we marry, I have no intention of keeping Anne confined to home duties. She studied robotics engineering in college and has already secured a position at a local research institute. I fully support her career," I explained. All Hannah could do was listen and glare at me in frustration. Then Hannah and Sam were in for a shock. Jack, looking apologetic, began to speak. "I regret to inform you that we intend to end our contract with white paper at the end of this year," he said. "What? This sudden news is troubling. We've been pretending things are better than they are with celebrations like this party. But the reality is quite dire. In fact, it's decided that Jack will succeed his father as president at the beginning of next year. Aligned with this, internal reforms will be implemented, and the stationery product I developed, which saved white paper, is set to be discontinued. Sam pleaded desperately, but Jack's decision remained firm. This is a problem, truly, it is. Can't you do something? It's company policy, there's nothing to be done. Jack replied, but in truth, he was also considering my situation. While the development of the stationery that saved white paper brought significant revenue to Brown Stationery for a time, our current finances are leaning slightly into the red. As long as Brown Stationery handles this stationery, the connection with white paper will persist, and I'll likely be harassed by Hannah indefinitely. With my marriage approaching, it was crucial to make a clean break from Hannah. Jack, who has remained my close friend for many years, truly had my best interests at heart. We decided to keep the patent but transfer the know-how to another stationery manufacturer. However, this meant cutting the last lifeline for white paper. Already struggling financially, this would likely be a crippling blow. Hannah seemed to finally realize that her actions had implications. She glared at me, baring her teeth and growling lowly. "Is this your revenge? I just wanted you to notice me, and yet, you hold a grudge for what I've done, resorting to harassment. I don't mind if you see it that way. It seems the only way to respond to your persistent harassment is with harassment. Your antics have been excessively disruptive. I'm getting married and want to completely disassociate from the white name." Hannah gritted her teeth in frustration. Seeing her like this was, for the first time in a long while, truly refreshing. Not long after this dramatic year-end party, Brown Stationery and white paper completely severed ties. Jack's first act as the new president was to form a new contract with a different paper company. Due to Brown Stationery's reputation and quality, several paper companies were interested in partnering. Among them, we managed to secure a contract with a paper company based in the city center. And this opportunity led us to relocate our headquarters to downtown. Moving forward, we will continue to create new stationery that can be used both digitally and traditionally. Keeping up with the ever-changing times is challenging, but crucial. With Jack stepping in as the new president, I have been appointed as the executive director, and together we will lead the company. We are realizing the dreams we had during our college days, one by one. On the other hand, white paper struggled to find new clients. Its already poor performance worsened, and eventually, it had to shut down its factory. A shift from solely producing paper is now necessary, and the upper management is continuously meeting to discuss this change. Not only the company but Hannah too couldn't escape unscathed. The following part of the story was told to me as gossip by a female friend from college. Having been the president's daughter, Hannah had been freely moving across various departments, much to the annoyance of the employees. This time, even Sam couldn't cover for her. Many have pointed out that the company is in its current precarious state because the president was too lenient with his daughter. Hannah, believing that her single status was due to being too comfortable in her current situation, Sam made a significant decision and severed ties with his daughter. Forced out of the mansion she had lived in for many years, Hannah now had to look for a new job. However, having lived her life as a company president's daughter, her pride would not allow her to be employed by someone else. Without any other options, she rented a small apartment and started visiting the job center. Finding a job was challenging for a 40-year-old woman with no qualifications or skills. Her lack of effort over the years meant she couldn't even operate a computer properly, making it impossible for her to secure the office job she desired. Eventually, Hannah managed to get a job as a building cleaner, waking up early and doing physical labor each morning. Most of her colleagues were women of her age, but Hannah's haughty attitude prevented her from making friends. Gradually, the workplace became unbearable for her, and she quit the job she had struggled to obtain. Deciding she was done with work, Hannah registered at a marriage agency to start looking for a partner. However, her excessively stringent criteria seemed to prevent any matches. Eventually, believing in a future with a man she met online, she sent him all the money she had saved. The man cut off contact and disappeared like smoke. With no other options, Hannah humbly returned to her previous job in the cleaning industry. While Hannah has moved to an even lower grade apartment with no bath and a shared toilet, barely managing to get by. I successfully married Anne. Our wedding, as an executive director of a major corporation and a researcher at a cutting-edge laboratory, was a grand affair. Local journalists and photographers attended, and our wedding photo was featured in the evening newspaper. Thus began our married life. Both Anne and I are working, and we live a life respectful of each other's careers. While we eventually want children, Anne has just started her job, so we've decided to enrich our life as a couple until we can establish a stable schedule. Life with Anne is always fresh and every day is enjoyable. Despite our busy schedules, a new routine has become getting up early every morning to take a walk together. Breathing in the crisp morning air and walking hand in hand, we feel an unparalleled happiness.